Hello, my name is Gordon Gunn, and I will be giving you a tour of my empire, called the Gun Empire. The Gun Empire dominates most of Saudi Arabia. However, for demonstrative purposes, we will be taking a look at the northwest coast, specifically the port city of Tabuk, near the modern-day Gulf of Aqaba. This presentation is a snapshot of the Gun Empire as it was during the years approximately 1100 to 1400 AD. The total population is approximately 1 million, 25% of which is military and 10% slavery. Although my society is ethnically diverse, as there are African slaves, European merchants and bankers, and Middle Eastern citizens, it is religiously unified by the Muslim faith. So, here is a traditional mosque. Here's a traditional mosque that would have been used daily by Muslim priests and shamans. The public also had access to it if they were wealthy enough to afford it. Typically, these people were owners of large manors and fiefs. So here's the mosque. At the seat of government is me, the dictator. I live in this well-protected, guarded, and elegant palace built by slaves. Obviously, this palace is quite the architectural feat. Therefore, in order to finish it, I had to acquire almost 1 million slaves by conquering and expanding into the Middle East and North Africa. I also had to train and hire skilled architects by founding highly selective education centers such as this one. There's a school over here. So here's a look at the palace. It's guarded by around a 50,000 square foot wall, and really big in there. The king's quarters will be back here. So, this over here is a typical school for the elite in my empire. And, but there are also schools like this one for less wealthy men. Women did not typically receive education because men in society viewed their main job to be childbearing, household chores, and raising strong men. A woman was only allowed to raise at maximum 2 girls. It was a milestone when a girl was married, as now she could raise more men. For the materials for building such structures in my empire, there is an abundance of sandstone in this region of the world, so that was easy to acquire. However, I had to order slaves to excavate a quarry and a minestone and iron from it to make the walls and foundations of a castle, as sand is a very tricky material to build on. There's also a nearby forest where thousands of trees were cut down by laborers and used for building purposes. So here is the quarry. It's very big. And then in the distance, there's a forest. It's loading. So here's the forest on a mountain side. Okay. Because every building project takes millions of gallons of water, I purposely chose this location along the Red Sea for the capital of my empire. However, with this prime location comes various threats. For one, I had to first create a strong economy by making alliances with wealthy empires along the Mediterranean and make a controlled currency that was synced with the ones in Italy and Greece, which were the headquarters of banking and trade in this era, so that I could pay for a large standing army and an outstanding navy. This is the navy, made up of 3 ships, 3 of which are at sea. There's usually 6 here. And then here is a trading ship / pirate ship. The enemy ship, basically, but these could also be used for trade. Down here is where this captive slaves or war prisoners would be kept, and this is trade and storage down here. So over here is a representation of my standing army. Each one of these villagers in the standing army represents 500 soldiers. Therefore, my standing army, not counting the private armies that protected fiefs and farmlands, consisted of approximately 250,000 men, an enormous army. Each one of these small navy ships over here represents 40 ships. However, only 3 docks are taken right now as the other ships are at sea. And this ship is a replica of a battleship shown in the previous port, just at a larger scale. When other ships brought in trading goods, they would come here to the trading center. Each one of these stands shown would be owned by a merchant and typically his family as well. These merchants would also make up merchant guilds, which would be taxed by me in order to pay for all of the costs of having an enormous army and navy. All of my empire is connected by this road system, which consists of sandstone. There's also a track where horses can go. Here is a farm of a laborer. This is his quarters, and these are his animals. Also, to distribute water across the empire, there is an aqueduct system shown here that represents hydraulics, and it spans across the entire empire. And going this way, spread out over the empire, is a fief. Well, actually, this is a wheat farm. Now we will go to a typical middle to low classes role. Here's a typical wheat farm. Because of the dry and hot climate that comes with Saudi Arabia, farmers do not grow crops such as millet, rice, or fruit, as those are traded for. However, wheat, some vegetables, and sugarcane farms are quite fruitful. And then, as previously shown, some farms direct the domestication of animals. So, however, a portion proportional to and defined by the family's annual income is sanctioned off by the government to go to trade centers and be distributed around the world. This is my way of taxing farm families. And over here, connected to this farm, is a fief. This is where a tax-exempt entity leases their own land over to a farm manager who owns slaves that work the land for them, while the land is protected by a small standing army, shown here. And this is where the slaves would live, and this is their living quarters here. Pretty nice, but not as nice as the elite class. Obviously, people have to keep clean, so there are several bathhouses spread out across the empire. Shown here is a private bathhouse. And there's a fountain. There's the domestication of animals farm. Here's another courtyard where people could just spend their time, relax. Here's the bathroom here, and here's the bathroom here. And there are also bathrooms connected to the standing army quarters, represented by those stone blocks right there. So yes, some of my army is escaping, but that's okay. For entertainment purposes, they took part in the Gordonian Games, which mostly consisted of running track competitions. Here's one of the bathhouses without this. So that sums up my empire, which is protected by this representation of a wall. This spans around the entire empire. I will not show you all of it, as it is very large, but it's that stone line that goes there. So I believe that is everything. Just one last look at it at nighttime. It's coming at nighttime. And one last thing is a neighboring barbarian society, or I guess tribe, you could call it, which sometimes invades, but doesn't stand a very good chance. But there are lots of these. I just made one. So yeah, that's the Gun Empire.